first started traveling, actually it was Todd's idea to get a really small backpack. I wanted to get a big one. And he picked out this Deuter 28, or I forget, maybe we both picked it out. And it was 28 liters, and so my idea was, okay, well, I've sacrificed by getting this tiny backpack. Now let me fill it up with as much stuff as humanly possible. And, you know, it worked out fine, actually, because it's a pretty small backpack, and I was always well prepared for everything. But as time has gone on, I've sort of changed my strategy, and now what I try to do is get the smallest backpack possible and leave it as empty as possible. Because what I've found is that, you know, it definitely pays to have the right gear and to have good gear, but, you know, I carried around that cot for a long time, which was a great cot, you know, but at the end of the day, it weighed a couple pounds, and I carried it everywhere and used it maybe 3 or 4 times. So, you know, I definitely try to look through my gear and find stuff that I can use in 2 different ways, or, you know, something that maybe I, you know, can do without. And one litmus test I use for that is, if I was going to go out today in San Francisco, would I actually use that? So, for example, I used to carry around these rain pants, you know, and they're not super bulky, maybe a little bit less than a pound, you know, pack up about this small. And I would wear them when I traveled, but I never wore them if it was raining in San Francisco. And I thought, well, you know, maybe I don't really need those. You know, that's sort of a borderline item, but you get the idea. So anyway, you know, I still use Tom Bin's Synapse Dyneema Backpack, and that's the one. Dyneema is this fabric here, weighs a lot less than their typical fabric. And what's interesting about it is supposedly it's not as durable, but I mean, if there's, you know, I just don't take care of my stuff. I feel like I'll buy the nicest stuff I want, but I'm not going to, like, you know, treat it with kid gloves or whatever, because if you don't use something to the fullest, what's the point of having it? So this guy, I really use to the fullest. I mean, you know, carry it everywhere with me, put it down anywhere, mud, dirt, you know, rocks, whatever. It doesn't have a single scratch that I can find. Oh, actually, tiny little hole right there. It's like a pinhole. Anyway, super durable. I love this backpack. My only complaint is that it's now too big. I wish I had something a little bit smaller. We'll get to that when I pack it. Oh, and I guess I may as well show you this little REI keychain. It's a compass. And actually, I use the compass once in a while, but the real reason I use it is because I put a lot of stuff in these 2 pockets. And because I'm always kind of getting at this thing from a different angle, I don't intuitively know which is which. So I put this one, and I know that's one that has my charger, headphones, stuff like that. Anyway, there's the backpack. We'll put it up there, and we'll be getting back to that later. So let's do clothes first. Right now I'm wearing Versace wool pants. They're 80% wool, 20% nylon. Best pants I've ever had. They're very thin, very light, very durable. Usually my wool pants, they start to fray back here. I'm wearing these for about a year, and they just have a tiny little fray. Usually these would be all destroyed, and I'd be going at them with scissors to try to fix it. Unfortunately, you can't buy these. It is so hard to find good wool pants, good wool nylon pants. I wish I had a better suggestion for you. I spent $1,000 this year on eBay buying all these different pants. Some of them I returned. A couple of them I couldn't. They had no return policy. And it's really tough getting good pants. So Versace has made the best pants 2 years in a row. So maybe search for Versace wool jeans, something like that. It's pretty tough though. It's, you know, that's the one thing, it takes months to find. But I like them a lot. They're great pants. Let's see. Shirt. Underneath I've got the Icebreaker Apollo V-neck shirt. I guess it looks just like a little bit cooler, a little more dressed up than a regular t-shirt. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a t-shirt. Okay, I'll show you this one, my extra. You know, nice 150 gram per square centimeter shirt, very light. You know, see how this one's got all these wrinkles in it. If I actually wore it for, you know, half hour, the wrinkles would be gone, because that's, you know, one of the amazing properties of wool. In case this is my first packing video you've ever seen, I'm crazy about wool. Everything I wear is wool. And the reasons are, number one, it keeps you really warm. It also, when you're hot, it wicks sweat away. When it's wet, it stays warm. So, you know, like if I'm in the rain, other people will be cold, I'll still be pretty warm. And it also dries very quickly. I still remember back in 2008 in Thailand, my friends and I went to this karaoke place on this island, and it was pouring rain, so we all ran to this place. We're soaking wet by the time we get there. An hour in, I'm 100% dry. Todd, who's also wearing wool, is 100% dry. And our friends who are wearing cotton are just like shivering and soaked and miserable. So I love wool. So anyway, Apollo V, Beast or something. You know, they have such crazy names for these things, but it's the gray V-neck they sell. I also started wearing a hoodie. And I did that because I'm always a little bit cold in San Francisco, and I don't always like to wear my jacket. This is by a company called Now, N-A-U, maybe that's how you, Now, I don't know. You know, it's pretty light, it's thin wool, but you know, you can put it down like this to keep your hands warm. Got a hood, keep your head warm. And actually, I find myself using this a lot more than I use my wool hat, which maybe I'll even get rid of. I still have it here, but I may not for long. You know, like when I was in China a couple weeks ago, you know, we'd be walking, we were hiking, you know, we'd stop and take a break and it would get cold, so I throw on the hood, which actually, you know, helps a lot even though it's thin wool. Then when we get going again, take it off, roll the sleeves. I also think it looks just a little bit cooler than wearing a t-shirt, but, you know, really it comes down to being very comfortable, right climate. Underwear, still wearing the Icebreaker Beast Briefs. Great underwear. Don't have much to say about that, but you know, I've been wearing these for a couple years straight, and really like them. So these are my extra clothes when I travel, and this is why, the main reason I have such a small pack. Extra pair of underwear, extra shirt. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. You can wear these underwear and shirt for a few days before you really need to wash them. Then you just hand wash them in the shower, and you're done. It's very easy. You know, underwear I like to wash a little bit more, but the shirt, you can go like a week without washing the shirt. It just doesn't even smell bad. I did the whole entire Peru trip without washing this shirt once. I came back, and I didn't even wash it as soon as I got back because it still didn't smell bad. It's crazy. I just, you know, I wash it when it either, like I spill some food on it or it starts smelling bad. And that takes like a week sometimes. So these are my extra clothes. I've also got, this is my Speedo still. The thing is, definitely coming apart a little bit, but you know, it's like, I think I've been in too much salt water. The buckle has started to corrode. Looks pretty terrible, but it's a hilarious looking bathing suit. It's really small. I like it. You know, I don't know, I couldn't find them, but I also have a pair of shorts. They're also by Icebreaker. They're the smallest shorts they have. I'll throw a picture up on the site. And they're the shortest running shorts they have, and actually I wouldn't recommend them. I'd recommend you get the ones that are a little bit longer because they have pockets. You know, these pants are actually pretty good for most warm climates. Even when I was in Mexico, I did end up wearing the shorts quite a bit. But the real nice thing about the shorts is that you can put them on and do all your laundry at once. So if you're somewhere where they have a laundry machine, like someone's house, you just run around in your shorts, wash everything else off. I found that to be really good. Moving on to the outer gear. Still the king of down jackets, the Montbell X-Lite jacket. I love this jacket. I've been wearing this for years now. I can't even remember, and you can tell, you know, it's kind of, the ends here are getting kind of frayed, and I think I've got some paint on it somewhere. Anyway, somewhere there's some paint on it. There's a little bit. You know, it's amazing. This jacket packs up super small. Just due to my hands, I lost the stuff sack, but you know, I don't really need that anyway. It packs up super small like this, and very, very warm. Especially you layer it with, you know, wool t-shirt, wool hoodie, and this, gonna be very warm. So there's just nothing else like it on the market. You know, like Uniqlo makes one that's a lot cheaper, but it's also a lot worse, has lower quality down, less of it. There are imitators. This is the best one. If you want one that's a little bit warmer and a little bit bigger, Feathered Friends in Seattle will make one. That would probably be my next choice. And actually, I was thinking about upgrading to one of those until I got this hoodie, and that was enough warmth for me that I decided not to. So anyway, we'll pack this all into the bag in a minute. I'll show you one by one for now. Marmot Mica. Put it on so you can see it a little bit. It's a Raincoat Shell, whatever you want to call it. Super light. I think the thing weighs half a pound. I forget how many ounces exactly. It's got a hood. It's got pockets. This thing is great. Keeps you dry. Keeps the wind off. because that's one thing is this this jacket doesn't really block the wind very well, and neither do these. So you throw this on. Sometimes I won't even wear them on, but I'll just throw this on, and that protects me from the wind, which can keep me warmer. You know, especially if you do this hood, then you do this hood. It's really nice warmth for your head. This thing packs into its own pocket, which you know, I won't show you. I'm sure you've got an imagination. You can imagine what that would look like. Very small. Now, I did have one problem with my old one. This is a new one, where it's a 2-layer membrane, and it started delaminating. And I think it was because maybe you know, from riding my motorcycle, maybe, you know, from this thing flapping, it destroyed it. Anyway, I sent it in. They gave me a brand new one for free, so can't complain about that. This little football here. Now, this I don't take with me everywhere. You only really need this. This is my cold weather gear, and I only really need this when it's going to be extremely cold. So, you know, I went to China last month, and I did some hiking on mountains that had ice and snow on them. Didn't need this. But when I went to Peru and I was, like, you know, camping outside in the mountains and climbing to, you know, extreme altitude, I did bring this, and it came in handy. So let me show you what I've got. First up, this is most of it here. Icebreaker 260 weight wool leggings. I'm not going to show you those, but anyway. Very, very warm. It's cool because they turn these relatively light pants into, you know, like something closer to snow pants. Not as warm as snow pants, of course, but definitely, you know, they really make a big difference. And, you know, so if you're in a cold place in the winter, you throw these on, just wear them all the time. You'd be quite a bit warmer. Got some gloves, smart wool gloves. To be honest with you, I can't remember the last time I wore these. I'm not sure I even wore them in Peru. This is a nice item. This is the buff, it's called. It's all wool, and it can be worn in a variety of different ways. Basically like a big sleeve kind of thing like this. The way I usually wear it is just around my neck like this. You can also do, you know, crazy things like this. There we go. Like that, like if you're skiing, you know, you can make it into like a little ninja mask. I wore this a lot when I was skiing, and you know, that was nice. Sometimes when I'm riding my motorcycle, I put it around my neck. It's a good item to have. It's very versatile. It's very small. I like that. I also have an Arc'teryx hat I bought, you know, like 5 years ago. It's so tiny, I just never really give it up. I don't think I need it really though with this hood, but I guess for now we'll keep it in there. Probably next time I go traveling, which will be in a couple weeks to Boston, New York, I might get rid of it by then. Anyway, earplugs. They're the blue ones made by Heroes. I forget what they're called, like Noise Extreme or something. They're the highest sound blocking earplugs you can get, and they're great. You know, this is something like if you're traveling by train, if you're traveling by plane, I can't really imagine you getting very far without those two things unless you're taking a boat. Pretty essential. Makes it way easier to sleep. I can't tell you how many times, like, I've been on a train, everybody's loud and there's lights on, and I'm just knocked out, sleeping fine. I also have the sleep mask. Now, I bought this thing 5 years ago, and I literally saved like $1 by getting this bizarre rainbow pattern on it. If I had known that I was going to have it this long, I probably would have gotten a different pattern, but it's getting a little worn out. It still works great. It's called the 40 Blinks Sleep Mask by Bucky. See what it looks like, kind of. Does a very good job blocking out the light. The eye pockets are kind of raised away from your eyes, so you can, you know, blink your eyes. There's no pressure against your eyelashes. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that for too long, but it's pretty good. Ray-Ban folding sunglasses. Boom. I love these sunglasses. I don't really love that every single hipster's wearing Ray-Bans, but at the end of the day, they look pretty good. They're polarized, and they fold down, so, you know, hipsters can do what they want. I don't really care. They're good sunglasses. One cool thing I like to do is I fold them up like this in half, and then I just tuck them into my pant pocket. I don't know if you can really see that. Anyway, it's a good way to keep them handy if you don't need them immediately. So, that's the sunglasses. here we've got a new pen, and I used to have that Inca pen, you know, the one that pops out, and that was pretty cool. But the problem was when I'd go on motorcycles, it would occasionally fall out. I went through two, both of them fell out. So I looked for something else that was small and that had a clip on it. And there were smaller ones that had a clip, but I got this one because it is a fountain pen. And I sort of miss having the fountain pen. I used to have one. And what's cool is that when you pull it out like this, you've got a full-size fountain pen, very comfortable to write. And if you're traveling, you know you need to have a pen because otherwise you get these custom forms and no pen to fill them out, and it's a big hassle. So anyway, it writes really good. The pressure, I was worried the pressure might affect it. It doesn't at all. And just clips into your pocket. You don't even notice it's there. Let's see, next up we have, this is one of my favorite items. I love this thing so much. I actually don't really even want to tell you where I get it, because if I do, it's going to be harder for me to get a second one, and I kind of want to get a second one, just for storage, for backup. Anyway, since this is the Zen packing video, and I don't need to have two of the same thing, I'll just tell my secrets. This is a deck of cards made by a company called Chem, and if you're a poker player, you know that Chem makes the best cards in the world. Some people like Copogs better, but every poker room uses Chem cards. And the reason they do is because they're plastic, so they're very durable. If they get dirty, you can wash them. They just feel great to use. They don't stick. The problem is all the decks they make are full-size decks of cards, except back in the late 30s, early 40s, for soldiers in World War II, they made small decks with nice little rubber leather cases. Extremely hard to find. Maybe 2 or 3 decks show up on eBay per year. So if you want one of these, you're not competing with everybody else who reads the site. It's going to be very difficult for you to find one. I want to get another one, but now that I'm putting it out there, I guess I'm just going to have to give up that idea. Anyway, they're really great cards. It's nice to have a deck of cards. I practice memorizing them. It's like a little weird hobby. Been doing that for like a year and a half now. But they're also good for playing cards. Like when my friend Christoph and I were in Germany, we were playing poker everywhere. In China, I was playing rummy and poker with my friend Carl. Even last week, I was going to Vegas, and the girl next to me noticed that I had cards, so we played gin rummy. So anyway, really nice leather case, like the kind of quality people just don't really do these days. And snaps shut, fits in your pocket or in your bag. Great item. All right. Electronics time. Let's do this. First up, let's do audio stuff. Got headphones, Shure 530s. These are good headphones. They're great headphones. They're not amazing, excellent headphones. They're probably about the best you can get for $200-300. They're in-ear monitors with dual subwoofers in each one. The sound quality is great. Can't complain about that at all. The sound quality is 10 out of 10. At least to my ears. What I don't like about them is that same with any in-ear monitors that aren't custom molded, they get uncomfortable after a while. I really want to get custom molded ones made, but they're like $1,000, and I'm kind of worried I'll have them made and I won't like them as much, and then we'll have wasted $1,000. So, probably, I don't know, I'll probably end up doing it someday. Here we have, well, let's stick with audio. So here, I was going to set it up, the batteries are dead, so I guess I can't. This is by Sound Matters, it's called a Foxhole 2.2. You don't want to get the 2.0, very important. Portable speaker that sounds amazing. Now, if you told me that this thing sounds amazing, I probably wouldn't believe you. I wish I could demo it for you, but probably that wouldn't work anyway because the microphone on my camera's not very good. But this is an amazing speaker. It fills an entire room with sound. There's bass. It sounds great. However, if I was going to get rid of anything, it would probably be this. It's probably about 8 ounces or so, maybe 9. And I just don't listen to music that much. If I do, I have headphones. But when you want to listen to music, this thing is really great. It works by Bluetooth, or you can also plug it in. To plug it in, I have this, just retractable audio cord. This is also for when I rent a car. I can plug, my phone into the stereo there. Nothing too exciting along those lines. This is pretty cool. It's a Griffin little, I don't know what they call it exactly, but it's a car adapter to charge stuff. I end up using that every time I rent a car, even if I'm just taking a road trip in someone else's car. It comes in handy. I love this cable. This is an HDMI cable. I bet you've never seen one that thin. It's I think it's by like SMD or something like that. Yeah, they don't have the brand on here. It's like Silicon Micro Devices or something. Look at how thin this HDMI cable is. It's my computer has a mini HDMI, so that's why it has this on this side. But then it has a full HDMI on this side. And the reason I got this is because most hotels I stay at, or even people's houses I stay at, they have like a nice big screen TV that you can plug HDMI in. So this lets me plug my computer in, if we want to watch a movie or something like that. I thought about using it as a second monitor, but it never seems to really be in the right position for that. Boy, I really just don't have many electronics anymore, do I? Flashlight, Phoenix LD15. Great little single AA flashlight. I think they do make smaller ones now. Not much smaller. This thing's fine. It has different light modes, which I like a lot. The battery just seems to last forever. I can't remember the last time I changed this battery. Certainly before Peru. I used this in Peru. Used it a little bit in China. It's still kicking. Audio splitter. You know what that is. This is a new item. It's called the Igo Key Juice. That's about the dumbest name I've ever heard for anything, but it's a cool thing. It's a little plastic piece. It snaps apart like this, and USB on this end, and then micro USB and mini USB on this side. So for example, my speaker uses this kind of USB. I think this one's mini. I can never remember which is which. And my phone and Kindle use this other one, which I think is called micro. What's really cool about this is that it'll actually charge two things at once. Kind of confuses your computer if you have it on, but if you're plugged into a wall, or if you have your computer off and it can charge when it's off, it'll charge both at the same time off one port. It's also just a little easier to deal with than having little cables run around. You can also get an iPhone adapter. I don't use my iPod anymore though, so I don't have that. It snaps in like that, keep in your pocket, keep in your bag. Good item. It's a tiny little tripod. I think it came with my Zoom H2 I bought back in the day, and I just never gave it to whoever I sold the H2, I guess. I use it for like a little tripod for my camera, just give a little something to angle it on. APC INPA, I'm missing half of it because I left it in China for my friend Carl, which makes it sound like it wasn't an accident. We were using it for his router. Anyway, imagine there was more here. I'll show you a picture on the website. Converts any kind of power to any other kind of power. Not the voltages and the hertz, just the connector type, but that's enough. Every charger now does, both of them. Generally every charger, maybe not every single one. And actually, the more places I go, the more it seems like they have these like dual mode power plugs where these days you can just plug any kind of plug into it, but it's still good to have this. You never want to be stuck without power, especially if you're a nerd like me. I guess we may as well get into this. I never thought I'd go back to a camera this small, but I have. This is the Sony Rx100, and people had showed me this. I'd read about it before, and I kind of just dismissed it. But really, this camera is pretty amazing. So I'm moving off the NEX series for this. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So for one, very small, fits in the palm of your hand, will actually fit in your pocket. Now I jam my Sony NEX into my pocket sometimes, but it's really uncomfortable to use. And what actually spawned me getting this was I was in Shanghai, and a friend said, "Oh hey, it was my first night there." He said, "Hey, let me show you around a little bit." And so I said, "Okay," and we're about to go, and I thought, "Oh, I should bring my camera." And my immediate next thought was, "It's so big, I don't want to bring it." Turned out we saw a lot of really cool stuff that I wish I'd taken pictures of, and so that made me think, okay, well, maybe I need to give up a little bit in quality just to actually be taking photos. So I did some research, and this is a really interesting camera. The RX100 is way better than any other camera its size. Like, it's not even like close, like it's 10% better, it's like 100% better, 200% better. There's really not even any comparison. It's like a new breed of camera. So it has a 1-inch sensor, Now that's about half the size of a Micro Four Thirds, and so it's about a quarter of the size of the NEX. So that's the biggest drawback. Really, the only drawback is that this thing has a smaller sensor. It's a quarter the size of the NEX. It does some things to make up for that, but at the end of the day, that's pretty significant compromise. That said, it is the same as the Nikon V1 and the J1, which are also kind of interchangeable lens cameras. So it's like it's a very big sensor. It's probably like 8 times the size of an average point and shooter, maybe more than that. So it's a very big sensor. Turn it on, and the lens pops out. It has a great lens. It's a Zeiss Sonar T lens. I don't know exactly what that means, but apparently it means it's very good, and that's been my experience too. It, at the wide end, does 28 millimeters with a 1.8 aperture, which is quite good, especially for such a small camera. And at the long end, it does 100 millimeters with a 4.9 aperture, which isn't so great, but it's nice and long. And I find like halfway in between is like good for portraits. Really wide is good for landscape, and zoom is when you're trying to take a picture of something super far away and you just can't get there. Has a really nice screen on the back. It has tons of manual controls, so you can manual focus like this, and it works really well. I actually prefer the manual focus to the auto, although the auto is also very good. Has a pop-up flash. I guess I'll show you that. So it has a pop-up flash, and what's cool is you can tilt it back to bounce it off the ceiling, which actually makes flash pictures look pretty good. One of the key features this thing has that I love is it has in-body optical image stabilization. What that means is that with my NEX, which does not have that, I could take photos at about 1/30th of a second and they would probably not be blurry. This one I could take it down to about 1/8 of a second and they're not going to be blurry. It also means when I'm taking video, it comes out very smooth. And actually in video they have an additional mode where they use digital image stabilization. So you combine the two, and you can basically walk down the street like this. I'm exaggerating, but it'll be relatively smooth. It'll be very smooth. If you actually like try to hold it steady, it almost looks like it glides, which is really great. Has all the manual controls you need. I actually find the control scheme to be better than the NEX. It's actually more customizable. Oops, there goes flash. More customizable, easier to get to the options you want. Has all the important stuff like the sweep panorama, which I actually use quite a bit. And another thing I really love about this is that it just charges from USB. With the NEX, I had to have this big battery charger, I had my extra lens, I had all this stuff for it. So now I'm saving about £1 by going to this. It's much smaller, I don't need a whole big pocket for it. It stays in my pocket, and maybe just because it's new, but I think I actually enjoy shooting with it more than the NEX. I really, really love this camera. It's missing the tilt-out screen of the NEX, which I like. Bigger sensor is always better. The lens in this is better than the stock 2.8 16mm that the Sony has, but it's not as good as some of the nicer lenses I had bought for it. So anyway, I love this camera. Great camera. It's definitely perfect for Nomad. Yep. So you can plug it in and use it to read the files off your memory card, but I actually also have this Pixel Flash. It's a USB 3.0 card reader, and it does micro SD and it also does regular size SD. So it's super fast. If I take a lot of videos, it helps me get it off the camera a little bit faster. And if I want to load up some, like podcasts or documentaries, movies, whatever, onto my phone, I can take out the SD card and use it for that. So that's good. Speaking of which, new phone. I have the Samsung Galaxy S3. To be honest with you, I think there's a lot of really good choices for phones these days. So, this is a great choice, but there's, I think the Galaxy Note 2 would probably be a slightly better choice. The Droid Dna is a great phone. It's 1080p on it's a little bit bigger than this. And I'm not a big fan of iPhones, but if you want an iPhone, certainly those work internationally now, and they do everything you need. I personally really like Android. This thing has a great 720p screen, better than the iPhone. It's OLED, so the colors are extremely vibrant. It's great for watching movies or whatever. You know, camera's okay on it. It does this thing where it like kind of does a panorama. It's pretty good. Anyway, not much to say. You know, the point is, phones in general have gotten really good now. You can get dictionaries for them for different languages. You can get subway maps. Not 100% sure this is also true of the iPhone, but on Android, you can do really great offline mapping for Google Maps. Actually, I guess iPhones don't have Google Maps anymore, which is kind of nuts. At least the new ones. But you know, my phone's pretty invaluable for traveling these days. What I like about this one in particular is that it does about 1 million different phone bands. So, you know, like my last one was similar, and when I was in China, it was on HSPA Plus, which is pretty fast. Anyway, no real complaints about it. It's great. You know, the cameras and these things are okay. They're not as good as a standalone camera. Yep. That's about all I have to say about that. Kindle. I still have the Kindle 3G keyboard, and the reason is this is the only one that lets you use the internet over their 3G connection internationally. It's just stopped working in China, but it works everywhere else. And you know, I bought the Paperwhite thinking maybe I'll keep one here because I do read a lot. And the truth is, this thing's just, you know, the Paperwhite feature is nice. It's nice how it glows in the back. The high-res screen is nice. At the end of the day, when you're reading a book, truth is all that kind of blends into the background. I think that's what Kindle is really good at. So to me, it doesn't really matter, and certainly to have global 3G where I can browse the web, check, you know, maps and email, that's super valuable to me. So I'll stick with this guy basically until I can't anymore. Last, also fitting with the theme of Zen, is this bad boy. This is the Asus, which actually comes from Pegasus, so they want you to call it the Asus. Zenbook Prime UX21A. I love this laptop. Thing weighs 2.5 pounds, a little bit less than that actually, and it is amazing. Has a full 1080p screen, full HD. Nice big trackpad, which, you know, I prefer a little touch point thing, but it's not bad. Great keyboard. I bought the Japanese one, so I have all these extra keys down here that I use for home and end, page up, page down, stuff like that. USB 3.0, which is very fast, especially when I use it with this thing. Well, only when I use this thing. It's the only USB 3.0 thing I have. And one feature, besides being tiny, that I really, really love is this power port here works even when it's off, even when it's in hibernate, even when it's in standby, and it puts out a full 2 amps. Which means it will charge all of your stuff really fast. Charges phones fast, the camera fast, even my speaker. Not that I would necessarily use this kind of power for that. Kindle, it charges fast. So actually, when I was in China hiking a couple weeks ago, I brought my laptop, and I didn't use it once, and I knew I wasn't going to. I used it just to charge my other stuff. And when it's only 2.5 pounds, it's actually light enough that it kind of makes sense to do that. Other thing I like is that it has a really well designed charger. It's tiny. It's actually smaller than the MacBook Air charger by a little bit, and it has a really long cord. The one that goes, see how big this thing is? From the wall to your laptop, you know, there and back. This is how laptop cords should be made. I'm sure in the future they'll all be like this. These guys are a little bit ahead. You know, I think Apple does this too, but theirs isn't quite as long. You know, compared to like what the average Dell or HP or whatever has, you know, or Lenovo, is a huge improvement. So I really, really love this laptop. And, you know, little cord tether thing. It's not as good as that little thing that wraps around on the MacBook Air, but you know, gets the job done. I'm not sure if I showed you this yet. Bought this in China, so you won't be able to buy one probably. Double-walled glass, carafe, tumbler thing with a tea filter, so you can actually make tea in it. And because the Chinese are pretty serious about tea, the tea filter is an appropriate size, which you don't usually see. So because it's double-walled, it's insulated, it'll last for a long time, stay warm. All right, why don't we get to packing? Tom Bin Synapse, as I said before. 19-liter backpack. Still love this guy. Let's get it filled up. Start with this, the cold weather gear. A lot of times I don't bring this, but my next trip I'll be going to New York and Boston, where it will be cold, so I'll bring that. Got my underwear, an extra shirt, bathing suit. Realistically speaking, I don't really often bring the bathing suit and the cold weather gear, but I've certainly been on trips where I've needed both, so throw it in there. Next, toiletries. Throw that there. Nothing really too exciting. Basically, I bring my own products because I really like Dr. Bronner soaps. So I bring that, and I also bring my own toothpaste and Fuchs collapsible toothbrush, but nothing too exciting, so I didn't go through it this time. This pocket here with the compass is where I put stuff I access often, like my laptop power adapter, my headphones. By the way, if you're ever trying to coil something, easiest, fastest way to do it is just keep going in halves. Get it done like that. Put that in there. iGo charger, right? Put that in there. I also put this just because it doesn't really get in the way and there's a lot of extra room there. Throw that in there. That's that. On this one, I generally used to just kind of stuff full of electronics, but it has a soft little pocket here, which I use for my sunglasses so they don't get scratched. Now, usually, I actually clip them onto my pocket, but you know, if I was in transit, this is where I would keep them. And all these little sort of occasional use things all go in the other pocket, the one with sunglasses in it. I clip my flashlight to this thing, makes it a little easier to find it if it's dark out. I don't think I showed you this. This is an alpha USB Wi-Fi adapter. Basically, the reason I have this is because it allows me to hack into certain Wi-Fi routers, which is really good for traveling because sometimes you don't have time to actually get real internet. One notable time it saved us, we were in Iceland and we had rented a car and we just couldn't find this place. It wasn't in the airport like we thought it was. So we cracked the internet, got online, figured out where this place was, and it was close by, and so we rented our car, no problems. So that all goes there. I also throw my playing cards and my sleep mask in there, kind of last, so they're the easiest to access. Close that up. This bottom pouch here I use to stuff stuff in. This is sort of a theme I have with packing is I'll have two separate pockets for similar items, and one of them I'll just stuff stuff in, so it's actually kind of, either it's hard to deal with, but it's infrequent stuff, like all my electronics or these jackets. And then the other corresponding pocket is just a few things that I need more often, a little easier to get at. So my electronics, like the chargers, stuff like headphones, stuff like that. Then in here, like my real clothes, laptop, whatever. So the camera I put in this front pocket here. In this middle pocket, I put my tea thing and Kindle. And then of course, in the main pocket, it has like a little sleeve for the laptop. Throw that in there. Boom. So that's fully packed up. Before I close it, I'll show you. It's basically empty. Right? So I don't know how well you can see that, but looking from the side, right about here is where all the stuff ends. So this whole area here is empty. In an ideal world, I'd probably rather have a slightly smaller backpack. Problem is, nobody makes backpacks as nicely as Tom Bin in terms of organization and having the compartments not interfere with each other. So, unless Tom Bin will make me a smaller backpack, which would be amazing, I'll keep using this guy. It really is small enough that it doesn't ever really get in the way. And occasionally it's nice to have this extra space for, some bottles of water or food or something like that if you're hiking. Anyway, zip up. There you go. Very light. I've weighed it. It's 10.7 pounds. Under 11 pounds, which is pretty good. Oh, and I forgot to show you these, which I've written a full review on before. These are my Earth Runners. Really cool minimalist sandals. The bottom is neoprene, which is really a great material. You can see it's molded to my foot really nicely. And the top is leather, which it does get slippery in the rain, but it never really seems to smell bad. It feels nice on your feet, and it's pretty durable. Cool looking shoes. I wear those. And then I have, just a couple items in my pocket, just a phone, money clip. I didn't show you that, actually. That's worth showing you. Still use this. It's a carbon fiber design cool stuff money clip. It's carbon fiber, which, I don't know, it's kind of a cool material. It's also kind of cheesy, but what I like about it is it's very strong, resilient, and I can bring my whole wallet thing through a metal detector and it doesn't set it off, which is nice. Anyway, that is the 2012 packing video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy your travels even more.